On March 28th, a 7.7 magnitude earthquake occurred in Burma, a country neighboring Thailand. The tremors were felt in various parts of Thailand, but of course Bangkok was affected the most. Many people saw these scenes of skyscrapers standing while water was sloshing out of swimming pools. But in reality what happened was that only one building under construction collapsed. It was under construction, meaning it wasn't finished yet, which is why it collapsed. 17 people were reported dead and more than 80 are missing. But I repeat, this building was still under construction. Everything else remained intact, stood firm, the water was splashed around, but overall everything went quite calmly. An earthquake with a magnitude of 7 points. In fact, that's a very large and frightening earthquake. But even considering that no one was prepared for it, and in reality it caught everyone off guard, the bank building remained standing. There are a lot of high-rise buildings and skyscrapers there, and only one building collapsed, which was still under construction. In several districts of the Thai capital, Bangkok, emergency evacuations were carried out. Some of their skyscrapers and buildings underwent thorough inspections for seismic safety of the structures themselves and the engineering networks. And once everything was checked, everyone was let back in, and basically that was the end of it. But I'll say this, at that time I was in Phuket myself, and areas like Phuket, Pattaya and Samui were not affected at all. We didn't even feel any tremors. And although many people wrote to me and acquaintances were asking what was going on with us, to be honest, I only found out about the earthquake from the news and messages on my phone. Considering that the earthquake mainly affected Bangkok, the capital of Thailand, yes, most likely, in the first few days, it might have seemed like there could be some panic, or that those investors who had already started investing in real estate would begin to wonder whether it's worth it or not. According to analytics and statistics, traditionally Bangkok is popular among Chinese investors for real estate purchases. So in reality, that pause lasted only a few days, and then everything went back to normal. No one started any investigations or speculations. People just calmly continued living and investing as before. After the earthquake, many investors and clients began to ask whether it could happen again and what the future might hold. Many people started recalling the events of 2004 when at the end of December a tsunami was triggered by an earthquake in the Indian Ocean. But let's take a closer look here. Yes, there was a tsunami back then and tens of thousands of people in Thailand were affected, but in reality, the wave only reached Thailand, and it was the last place it reached. The epicenter of the earthquake at that time was in Sri Lanka and Indonesia. They suffered even more than Thailand. Therefore, if we look back at what happened in the past and take into account that all these natural disasters are unpredictable, no one can foresee them in advance, I would say that no one is immune to them, no matter where they are or in which region. These are risks that potentially affect all investors on the entire planet. However, taking into account the events that occurred in 2004, after that the Thai government implemented a number of serious measures to prevent tsunamis. I will now talk about this in detail. As for real estate in 2004, after the tsunami, of course, it dropped by about 15 to 20%. But in the next 2 to 3 years, that is by 2006, 2007, in fact, the market recovered. Why? Because the Thai government made a huge contribution to the tsunami early warning system. A huge amount of money was invested in these systems, and the entire infrastructure was also modernized. Special buoys were installed that float, let's say, in the sea. They monitor even the slightest fluctuations in advance and immediately send a signal. A whole protective system was set up. On the coast, there are also seismic sensors that operate around the clock, constantly recording even the slightest changes. Safe zones have also been developed at every resort, with designated evacuation points in areas that could potentially be affected by a tsunami. So now, all of this is taken very seriously into account in planning and construction in every aspect. And in construction, stricter standards for earthquake resistance of buildings were specifically adopted. All these measures were implemented for people, both for residents and for tourists who come to Thailand. As for real estate, of course, it is necessary to insure it here. Let me tell you the most recent example. We offer our clients insurance that covers tsunamis, earthquakes, landslides, mud flows, and heavy rains. These things can also happen, for example, in Phuket. Here's the latest example we calculated for our clients. An apartment worth 12 million baht, that's approximately $375,000, fully turnkey with furniture. We send a request to insurance companies in Bangkok. We work only with local insurance companies in Bangkok. We received 3 offers, and if you look at the numbers overall, they all offer about the same insurance coverage for this amount. And on average, insuring this apartment for a year, including tsunamis, earthquakes, mudslides, landslides, in other words, absolutely everything, and property damage, for example, flooding of neighbors, is all covered. 22,000 baht, that's the annual cost. In dollars, that's about $750 per apartment, fully insured against all potential possible risks. Overall, the Thai market is expected to see a steady increase in capital growth, averaging 5 to 10% per year. If we take Phuket, for example, the price per square meter is approximately 100,000 baht. In Thailand as a whole, it's 70,000 baht. So by 2027, this will mean an additional 10 to 20% increase in the purchase price of your property. If we look at 2030, that's an additional 20-30% to the value. Why is that? It's due to the increasing flow of tourists and expats, active infrastructure development, new roads, tunnels, and airports being built, and soon casinos will be legalized. According to rumors, this will happen simultaneously, both in Pattaya itself and in Phuket. And overall, the quality of construction is rising, with luxury residences and apart hotels being built. Thailand's appeal in the eyes of the world is simply growing every year. And I've just told you about the growth of the real estate market. That's in general if we look at how the market is steadily developing. But there are always interesting projects, special offers, discounts, and bonuses. You can write to me yourself if you're interested in some unique investment opportunities. And in fact, it's possible to earn even more locally during this time, even 30, 40, 50, or 60%. But here, you need to approach things very carefully, let's say based on your specific requests and goals, and simply find them, these exclusive, interesting offers. Believe me, they exist. There are plenty of them. So if you're interested, just write to us. We'll share, explain, and show you. The Pattaya market offers properties starting from 60 to 70,000 baht per square meter, and the annual yield is 7 to 8% in dollars, or in Thai baht, which is actually a stable, strong currency. So what makes Pattaya interesting? It's developing very rapidly, with many infrastructure projects underway, new highways being built, and there's even a separate project, a monorail, that will connect Pattaya with Bangkok. Once it's completed, the distance from Bangkok to Pattaya can be covered in just 40 minutes. Given its proximity to Bangkok and the center of Thailand, Pattaya is in high demand among locals. In other words, locals also like to go to Pattaya for the weekend to relax and then return for the work week. But we'll make a separate video about Pattaya. A dedicated episode will be released soon on our channel, so make sure to subscribe so you don't miss it. We will compare Pattaya, Phuket, and Samui and explain the differences between these areas and what makes each one attractive for investment. This was Dennis Rockniak and MERU State Real Estate Agency. See you next time.